wonderful. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I am a consultant at Procurify, and I've been working with Ruth and Enrique to get Procurify up and running. We are excited to be training both the Brazil and Mexico team today so that you can start using the system. So in terms of today's training, we're going to be going through the full workflow of request to receive. I've just shared my screen. Is everyone able to see it?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so if this is the first time you're seeing Procurify, welcome. This is the dashboard. So every end user is going to be taken to this screen when they log in. Procurify is a role-based system, so depending on the different role that you have been assigned within Procurify, you're going to see different functionalities on the left-hand toolbar here. There are a few things that are consistent across all users. You will see a summary of your activity within the system, so any orders that you put through Procurify, or if you are, if there's a pending approval that needs your attention, all of that will be summarized on this front page here, as well as comments. So it is a centralized repository of all of your activity within the system.
Lauren, can I say something in quick Spanish just to give them an outline of what we're replacing to make sure that everyone is on board?
Sure, yes.
Okay, solo puntualizar para todos los que no lo sepáis, Procurify lo que va a hacer es reemplazar AODocs a nivel compras. Todas las compras se van a gestionar a través de Procurify. Ya lo tenemos en España desde hace ya bastantes meses. Ha mejorado mucho nuestro sistema de compras y tener en cuenta esto, que en breve, en cuanto lo lancemos, que va a ser dentro de unas semanas en vuestros países, dejaremos de utilizar las bibliotecas de compras de AODocs, que no las de expenses por ahora, pero sí las de compras, y utilizaremos solo Procurify. Okay? Okay, that's right. You can go ahead now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So when you are logged into Procurify, you're going to see your name in the top right-hand corner. So the first thing that you want to do when you log in for the first time is go into your account details. So your account details is going to allow you to add a photo of yourself. You'll see your first and last name. You can add a phone number. And then what you want to do next is update the temporary password that you will be given to a new password, as well as manage your notification settings. So within Procurify, we do have notifications for both email and mobile. So we do support both the iPhone and Android Procurify app. So this would just mean that you're allowed to get notifications on your smartphone while you're away from your desk. So when you do set up your account details, you should just go into this screen, and then you're going to be able to select which notifications you'd like to see. If you are an approver on within Procurify, then we do have the option of approver delegation. So that means that if you go on holidays or are out of the office, then you're able to delegate your approvals to another user in the system so that you can ensure that no orders get bottlenecked and missed. So what you can do is delegate approvals to another user in the system, set your expected return date, and you can include an option as a message as well. If you'd like to transfer over any pending approvals that you haven't got to yet, you could also toggle this to yes. Okay, so those are the key pieces to update when you first log in for your first time, is update your temporary password and set up your notification settings and add a photo. We also have here the bell at the top, and this is the notification inbox. This works the same as any sort of Twitter or Facebook notification. So if anyone tags you in a comment within the system, then you can see all of your notifications in one spot. And then you can see also the question mark for our help center. So this is where you can reach out to our support team directly to troubleshoot any issues you're having, as well as we do have a knowledge base available. So that means that you can go and search our knowledge base if you have any questions, or if you want to review any sort of workflows, how to make a request, how to approve, etc. So this is, again, this question mark where this is here to help you either through our knowledge base or in-app support. Okay, so now that we've gone through the key functionality of the dashboard and your account details, we're going to jump into making a request. So a request can either be accessed through the quick link at the top or on the toolbar on the left-hand side. So today we're going to go into request a new order. And this page is an order status page. So it's going to show you the status of all of the orders that you've submitted in Procurify previously. So again, you don't have to manage organizing that piece yourself. All of that will be available to you. All of these orders here will be reflective of each individual user. So this will show all of Enrique's orders that he has put through. And as an order flows through the procurement workflow, so after it's been approved, it'll flow into the approved work status. Once it's been purchased, it'll move to purchased and then received. So again, you get that real-time visibility without having to follow up with anybody. Okay, so to make a brand new request, you're going to click on the orange button here to request a new order. Okay. So what you can see here is that we do have a location. So you can see, depending on where you are, your locations have been set up, then you can see that the location will populate already. So you don't have to manually enter that. And then you're going to pick your corresponding department. So you can see all the departments listed here. And then it will also show an approver here as well. Now you can see the date required. So the date required is the date that you're asking for these items or services to be received by or to be ordered by. So this is the date that's going to default that you can update accordingly. Okay, and you can see the order item list here. So what you want to do is that we have worked with your team to be able to have all of your common expenses uploaded already within the product catalog. So this is intended to make it easy for you to be able to search what you're looking for, so you don't have to input that information and all of it will be populated. So for example, if you are ordering something for IT, then you can go and find IT material and you can see that the account code is populated and the information. You'll also see anything with a red asterisk is a required field. So all of these things are populated. However, you'll see in the additional fields that these are all required. And you can see that from the drop down here, you're going to indicate which location this item is for based off the line, who it's to be purchased by. So let's say the IT team and the payment method. Okay. And then Enrique, could you just assist with what does this this field mean, or what is intended to be filled out here?
Sure. That is the basically how long is the period that the service is going to be for, like if it's yearly, annually, anything like that. Ruth maybe can say a little bit better what she means now that I see her right there for a second. But it's basically time frame.
Okay.
So I'll say it in Spanish. Esto lo que significa el periodo de prestación de servicio es si es un servicio puntual, es un servicio anual, un yearly, o un anual, un mensual, diario, trimestral, lo que veáis. Go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. You can see the comments, and then you could also see that you do have the option if there's any attachments you wanted to upload, you could attach this here as well. Okay. So that is the information that is required to add in an item. And then again, you can, on each line item, indicate which location it's for, as well as include it at the header level. So we're going to go, now that we're going to just do another example of a request together, and then we'll go through what the approver sees and what the approver can edit. Okay, so in terms of another location, so you can see here that we're going to do an order for the headquarters. And you can see again just the list of departments listed out here, the date, and then adding the item from the catalog. So we've already ordered something from IT. So
Lauren, let me add one thing you were mentioning before. Can we go back to the one before?
Yeah, which one?
Here in location. Each of your countries, you will have your own country and you will have HQ. Todos vais a tener vuestro país dentro de location y global. O sea, en este caso aparece HQ Maxi Mobility Spain porque es una demo con el sistema de demo en España, pero vosotros tendréis Brasil Maxi Mobility con el nombre de vuestra compañía y en México también. Y luego también tendréis este que es HQ MMS Maxi Mobility Spain para costes global. All right, set.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so again, you can see everything will be listed and the additional fields are consistent every time you add an order item. So you can see that here. So the idea is that you go into the product catalog and then search whatever you're looking for. Okay, so another one would be you're looking for some communications, internet, SMS, or telephone. You can see that would be listed here as well. Everything's pre-populated, so the only thing that you'd have to do is, let's say if this is on a monthly basis, which location it's for, and then add those items. Okay, so then you just want to build out your order here and then submit it for approval. So you can see here at the bottom, the approver is always going to be populated based off of the location and department. So this is something that as a requester, you're not expected to know. We've designed the system so that you do know who the next approver is. Okay, so we're going to submit this request and then we'll go into the approval page. So you can see now that there's one order that's in pending status. You can see who the next approver is. So something to point out here as well is that as a requester, you can see these 3 dots in the system, and it's going to allow you to do some options here. So let's say that Adrian has not approved your order yet. You can send him a reminder and say, please approve ASAP. You can give him a reminder to approve this order. If it's items that you're commonly ordering together, you can replicate the order. So you can replicate the order and all of the information will populate again. And then you can submit it for a request. So now you have 2. And you can see the number was 25 and 26. So just making it easy. And while it's still in pending status, if you realize that you've made a mistake and you'd like to delete this order, you can delete it. You can see this is a permanent action, so this is just to say that I don't need these items anymore. I do want to delete it. Okay, so now we're back to just our one pending request. Okay, so we're going to just log into Adrian now and go through the approval workflow. Was there any questions with the request workflow so far?
Looks like no questions.
Okay.
¿Alguna pregunta por vuestra parte?
Okay.
Ninguna.
Okay, perfect. So you can see here that we're logged in as Adrian now. So Adrian now has 2 orders that are pending approval. You can also see in his recent activity that order that I just put through, September 12th. So what we can do here is click directly into the pending approval page from the dashboard here, or alternatively, if you go onto the order status page, it looks very similar to the request status page. You can see that orders that are Adrian is needing to approve. So he is going to be looking at the line items themselves and all the details. So by clicking into the order here, there are two pieces of information that the approver cannot edit, and that is the location and department at the header level. So if this information is incorrect, Adrian will have to deny this order, and then it would have to be resubmitted. Instead of just denying the order without any context, we're able to leave comments within the system. So you could say, at Enrique, please resubmit under IT, so that Enrique knows to resubmit that item, and he'll get that comment. For the line items itself, these three dots are available again, so you can edit the item. So again, this is where the approver can look over the information that they've provided here and make any changes, and it will all be saved within our audit log. An approver also has access to the total spend for that department and account code, so they can see that information here. And once it's been finally reviewed and is okay to approve, then it will be final approved. Okay. So now we've seen that it's gone from 2 pending orders to 1 approved order. So this is order 25 here that we just submitted and approved. Is there any questions in terms of what information an approver can edit and cannot edit? Okay. All right. So now that we have approved this order, we're going to go in and create a purchase order and then receive it. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that you can see Procurify does follow the workflow on the left-hand side here of after a request is made, it needs to be approved, and then ordered, and then received. So what we're going to do is go into the Procure module. And on this procurement list, this is going to show all of the items that have been final approved and are ready for order. As whoever is creating purchase orders is able to filter by this list depending on, for instance, location or department or vendor or even requester. You can see the 2 items that we ordered for the request number 25 is at the top here. So if you want to create a purchase order for these 2 IT items, then you can add it to the list here. Same as if you're doing any sort of online shopping. So in terms of creating the purchase order itself is that we do need to have a vendor selected. So this will be the responsibility of whoever is creating the purchase order to select the appropriate vendor and then create the purchase order itself. So in terms of the purchase order information, there will be the bill to information, the vendor, the ship to information, and then the line items itself. We're able to add any notes on the purchase order if there's something you want to indicate to the vendor or a disclaimer. If you'd like to add in a comment for the vendor to see here, you can see that you can add in the a comment for the vendor to see as well. When creating a purchase order, you have the option to create a purchase order or create and email a purchase order. So this would allow you to email this purchase order directly to a vendor and include any sort of message to that said vendor. Otherwise, when you create the purchase order, what is going to happen is that a purchase order number will be populated. And then if you wanted to see what the PDF looked like, you can see that this would be the purchase order that has been created out of Procurify. So if you did send this to the vendor, this is what they would see. Okay, so you can see that it is in open status. The purchase order does remain in open status until all of the items have been received. So you are able to partially receive purchase orders in Procurify. However, it won't be fully closed until all of the items have been received. Okay, any questions with the creating of the purchase order?
Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Just one question. You said the vendor is already populated, is that right?
The vendors are what, sorry?
Already populated.
That's correct, yeah. So with all of the vendors that you would be using are already going to be configured into the system.
If I want to create a new one, how do I do that?
So depending on your role within Procurify, are you going to be creating purchase orders in Procurify? Do you know?
Uh-huh.
So there is a vendors tab, so then you can create new vendors. But I'll also ask Ruth or Enrique to weigh in here in terms of the vendor creation process.
Yeah, I'm gonna basically only, at least in Spain, the way we're doing it, only the finance team, accounts payable, and the billing and treasury groups are able to create a vendor. If your vendor is not on the system, you select other, and it will give you a space to fill out this new vendor. And the people that will later generate the procurement order itself would generate the vendor for you. So you will only need to generate the vendor once, the first time that vendor is first used. And then it will be populated directly on the system. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I see that, Enrique. But if maybe the OA team wants to create a vendor, they have to ask the finance to create this new vendor.
Well, the way the process works is that you actually are not making a purchase order when you make a request. You make a request, and the order itself is done by finance. So your vendor in the request that you've made, let's say you're doing a vendor that is not on the system. For example, here, you would select other, and here you write the name, whatever it is, the vendor. And also you're going to be attaching a proposal with the more details of the vendor itself. And this request will go to finance, and finance will be the ones that create the vendor if it's not there. Does it make sense like that?
Yeah.
Not everybody has access to the vendor tab. Only the people with the actual rights to do it will have the access to creating vendors. But you just make the order, other, and vendor name, and it should be set for you.
Okay.
Okay, we can go ahead, Lauren. And later on, if we have any doubts with this, we can show you how it's done in Spain on a further, more advanced training.
Okay, thanks, Enrique. Thanks, Lauren.
No worries. Good question. Okay, so now that we've created the purchase order, we're going to go into the receive step. So again, you can see that each of these pages are all consistent, that you'll have the visibility into the status. So you can see on the receive page how many open purchase orders you have, how many are partially received, and how many are closed. So on the open purchase set, we can see the PF7 is the purchase order that we just made, September 12th, from Hewlett Packard. And those are the two items that we ordered. So by clicking into the order here, we're going to have all that information. So something to note here also is that you can do this step on your mobile phone as well. So what you can do is take a picture of the packing slip and upload it directly to Procurify. You can also take a picture of the packing slip when you're logged in web app using our Pix functionality. So again, you can be able to have that seamless workflow of getting that data without having to go to a scanner or photocopier. So at this step, you want to be checking the order item as well as the quantity to make sure that that information is correct before you pass or fail those items. So pass means that you've received the item, and in this case, regardless if it's a service or goods, if a service has been completed, services rendered or to completion, you can pass that item. And alternatively, if a good has been received in full and it hasn't been damaged in shipping and you're signing off on the quality of it, then you can pass those items here. You can see that you're expecting the quantity of 1 for both of these items, so you can expect that. See that there's the fail option here. So fail means that you have received the item, but let's say it's been damaged in shipping and you need to go back to the vendor to have that item resent out. So you want to fail that item. It's also best practice to leave a comment for the purchaser. So, whether that's finance or whomever, that they need to reorder that item or follow up with the vendor. Could leave a comment, say item arrived damaged, please see photo attached. So what you could do is take a photo of damaged item and attach it here. You're always going to know who purchased the item as receiver, so you can always follow up with that person directly so they can speak to the vendor. You can also see that it's still in open status, but you can see your purchase order is partially received. And all of the activity that you do on this specific item is going to be tracked in the audit log itself. So you can see the one item that I received here. If I fail this item, then it would also show in the audit log. So again, if anyone wanted to understand what the activity had been on this order, they could go into this screen and be able to see that. You can also see the icon, the one here will show that there is a comment on this line item to see. Okay, so let's say that we've failed this item and then it has been resent out, so we want to pass that item now. What you can do is go back into when you're on your purchase order receiving and see that now we have 4 that are in partial receipts receiving status. So when you do receive that item, you can go back in and then pass that item. So again, you can see that we failed it and then now it's passed. You'll also note that because this purchase order has been received in full, it has now moved to a closed status. Okay, so then you can see that we followed the same purchase order PF from request all the way to received, following the approval, create purchase order, and receive step. Okay, so now I know that was a lot of information to cover for today, but I just wanted to pause there and see if there's any questions from the team. Alternatively, if there's any specific use cases that you wanted to go through, we can go through that together as well.
Mexico is really quiet.
Yeah.
México, ¿vosotros qué tal todo con México ahí? Alejandro, ¿cómo lo veis? ¿Alguna duda? ¿Dificultades?
Bueno, Enrique, no, me comentan que de momento todo bien. Parece sí es muy parecido al Audox. Un poquito más detallado, pero muy bueno.
Bueno, sí, parecido, pero mucho mejor, ¿no?
Sí, de hecho.
Okay. So, Lauren, they're saying that it's very similar to most systems that they're used to. So, they were saying that it's similar to Audox, but much better. So,
okay, that's good.
So, for now, Mexico is fine. Brasil, ¿alguna duda? Iván, ¿Todo claro? ¿Necesitáis algún caso específico?
No, por ahora todo bien.
Everything okay also in Brazil, so we can move forward if for the next part if we have more items.
That was all we wanted to. That's all we had to cover off for today. It was just requests to receive. In terms of next steps, that will be communicated in terms of what the specific login will be for Mexico and Brazil, and then what their username and temporary password would be. So that would just be the next steps, and then starting to put through live orders.
Okay, makes sense. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you.
Sorry, I have the little guy here screaming a little bit. So basically, los siguientes pasos simplemente os daremos el link de acceso a Procurify en cada uno de vuestros países que sean distintos y un usuario y contraseña para empezar a utilizarlo. El target queremos que sea el 1 de octubre, que es un martes. O sea que tendremos todavía el lunes, todavía podréis hacer algo en AODOX antiguamente, pero la idea es que a partir del 1 de octubre todo se haga desde Procurify.
Enrique, una duda, ¿el entrenamiento se sigue o no?
Perdón, si seguimos con más training ahora o no. ¿Quieres decir eso?
Así es.
En principio esto es todo, luego sí es posible que os demos un mini training en la parte de compra en sí, a lo que sería el Procure, que sería la compra como tal, y lo haremos más interno con el equipo nuestro para que veáis cómo lo estamos haciendo.
¿Y los procesos de pago cómo se quedan?
Ahí no cambia nada, eso sigue, o sea, igual que antes tú sacas un fichero y cómo pagáis no cambia, no se hace a través de la aplicación.
Pero no merece la pena hacer un review en ese proceso también, porque creo que sea un poco diferente, ¿no?
Que yo sepa no cambia nada los procesos de pago, pero ahí lo tendremos que ver con Ruth, que sabrá mejor. El sistema está preparado para que en un futuro vaya directamente a NetSuite, pero todavía no lo tenemos puesto. Pero en un principio no sé cómo estáis haciendo los procesos de pago, pero no deberían ser distintos. Pero si queréis, lo vemos con Ruth para ver cómo lo estamos haciendo en España, pero lo hacemos ya por nuestra cuenta.
Pero la idea es que se genere un informe de pagos desde Procurify, ¿no?
Correcto, desde Reports.
¿Y cómo hacemos? ¿Cómo se hace eso?
Lauren, how do we generate a payment report, basically? Can you cover that?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, that was one thing that cover off is the reports section. So reports would be, again, on the left side toolbar, and you're going to be able to see, different orders by either vendor or user, or orders by department, for instance. So what you could see is that you could indicate, a date range for the month, and then indicate a location and specific department, and be able to see the orders for that specific location.
Lauren, just one question. If I selected, for example, orders by vendor, will I be able to see all the orders that I have in the Cabify, or just the orders by vendor? Because if I want to generate at least a report to do the payments, I have to go to each item in there or not?
Yeah, really good question. So you can see I did orders by vendor here, and I just have a date range, and I have no location or department indicated. But however, you can see that there's the vendors' names here and then the items purchased. So you're going to be able to see a list of all of the vendors and what you've purchased. And then in this chart here, you'll see a summary of what the divide is between vendors. So you can see that the 2 items you ordered from Hewlett Packard, and then be able to click into that and see the total spend, which account codes are used, and the items. So again, it's not limiting you to just one location, but it just more rather Procurify domain as a whole, what you've spent per vendor.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not just clear for me how do I export and report to do the payments, to provide the payments. I mean, just to check all the payments I have to do, you know? I don't know if I have a kind of list that can tell me everything I have to pay.
Okay, so are you looking to see, so what you need to know of what to pay is, so you want to see the status of all the orders that have been received, so you know that those vendors are to be paid and what that amount is?
Yes, and also the due date.
And the due date, okay. So the due date, though, would that be on the purchase order itself? Like, for instance, on the purchase order, you can see that there's the promise date and then the payment terms. But in terms of the invoice, would that go to finance typically and then be processed, you know, within your accounting system? Because they'll have the invoice able to reference what that actual due date is. I'm just wondering if that due date will be tracked in Procurify.
But do I have to go order by order to see the due date?
Ruth or Enrique, is that what's happening in Spain currently right now in terms of the due date for the purchase orders? Is that
to tell you the truth, that I don't know. We would have to see with Ruth later on, because she had to go for an emergency, so she's not here to know the due date, but we'll have to check with her.
Okay.
Even because there is a difference between Brazil and Spain, which Spain, I think they proceeded payments just on day 25, and Brazil proceeded payments almost every day.
Okay, yeah, well,
right,
we can
that's definitely a big difference.
Yeah, no, it'll be important to understand if that information is actually being captured in Procurify, and at what step it makes the most sense, like whether it's at the procurement step or when the invoice is received from the vendor. So most commonly we see that the vendor payment due date within the accounting workflow. So whether that would be within NetSuite, because then you're creating a bill with that due date so that you can pay the vendor. And Procurify would be more of the standalone for the procurement front end side, but that's something that we can follow up with to make sure that we are capturing the different use cases between Spain and Brazil.
Okay, thanks, Laura.
Okay, perfect. Was there any other questions? So the reports, again, the key ones is order by vendor, order by user, department. So again, you're going to be able to put in additional filters at the top here, and then also by date, and then be able to see, for instance, what the spend has been for the headquarters finance department, you know, what purchase order has been used, and you can see that you can all export this information as well. So if you wanted to export this data and take it into a meeting with, you know, your management or leadership team, just to show all of the orders within that department, you can get that data easily out of Procurify.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you go through the accounts payable tab?
So the accounts payable. So I'm logged in right now as an admin user, but within Procurify, the workflow you'll be following is request to receive, not accounts payable within Procurify right now.
So we don't need to worry about this. Is that true?
No, correct. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Was there
anything else? ¿Algo más?
Así que de mi parte no, pero creo que hay trabajo, pero adelante, ¿no? Porque no me queda claro cómo lograremos los pagos todavía. Así que, no sé, hay que dar una vuelta en esto.
Ok, eso lo vemos con Ruth con un poco más de calma, ¿vale? Lo hablo con ella.
Ya, vale.
Okay, perfect. Well, Enrique, I'll share this recording as well for anyone that wasn't able to join this morning or this afternoon for you. But really excited to have the Brazil and Mexico team using the system.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay,
thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Me too.